Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Joshua Ingalls, and I'm super excited. I'm heading to the Lake County Property Investor Association meeting. It's Lake County's oldest RIA group and the best, in my opinion. And what's super cool and why I'm super honored is because this is the second time that I'm going to be speaking at this event. So I must have done an all right job on my first time. Now, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is how to make your next deal a home run. And what's cool about real estate is you can screw every single aspect of this business up, but if you do these three things right and screw everything else up, you'll still make a ton of money. And that's buy it right, rehab it right, and sell it right. So I'm super excited to share my knowledge with you. I'll see you there.
Josh, I actually have seen Josh, as you know, he's right here. He has been speaking at events around the Chicago area. He hosts his own meetup in the Chicago area. He's a realtor, an investor, he's a best-selling author, he's a builder, a contractor. I've been actually seeing some of the homes he's done. He does a wonderful job, and I think we're really lucky to have him with all his talent. And Bill, thank you for getting him out here. We're ready for you, Josh.
All right, so tonight I'm going to be talking about how to make your next deal a home run. So there's only three things you got to do. You got to buy it right, rehab it right, and sell it right. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been great.
Drop that mic.
Drop the mic. So obviously these are the three things. If you're looking to flip houses, I always say if you do these three things right, you can screw everything else up and still make a lot of money in this business. And I know there's a lot of buy and hold investors in here, so I would add the slide rent it right, because that, of course, if you own long-term property, that will definitely make or break you. So I'm really going to talk about this third point here a little bit, but I'm going to talk about a little bit about the first 2 points before I get into the rest of the presentation. So how many people in here right now are getting properties off the MLS, so meaning direct to sellers? Okay. So if you don't have your hand up, you should be looking at the people that do have their hand up, because these people are getting properties at very, very low prices. Because if you're buying, at least today on the MLS, you're probably not getting the property at a price you need to get it at. It's my opinion that if it's on the MLS, it's too late. There's too much exposure, there's too many people looking at it, and you're just not going to be able to buy it at a good enough price unless you're looking at a very, very long-term strategy. But as you all know, we're in an interesting time in the marketplace. I say crap has never sold for as much as crap has sold for in the past. And the fully renovated properties now are not selling. Now they're coming down. And what's happening with contractor prices? Contractor prices are up. So to make money flipping houses on the MLS is essentially a race to your death. I mean, it's not a great strategy right now. So if you're an investor, one thing you need to master is finding off-market properties. So how do you do that? It's direct marketing to the buyers. So, I'll go over just a couple strategies I do. There's probably some wholesalers in this room. You're going to want to talk to them. But if you can do it yourself, you're going to get a much better deal and be in a lot more control. So there's two strategies I'll talk about quickly. Number one is direct mail to lists. The problem with lists is that anybody in here, if there's a list out there, anybody here has access to that list. And so that's almost becoming like the MLS. Now, you can still get much better deals, but I like the next strategy, which is create your own list. So how do you create your own list? Well, number one, you want to look for distressed properties in the area that you buy homes. This is a strategy I use, and this is a strategy I recommend you use. So let's say you buy houses in Gurnee within a 1 mile radius of Great America, okay? Now, because maybe your plan is that maybe Great America will buy that land. I don't know what your strategy is, but maybe this is where you're looking to buy land or buy homes. So what you're going to do is look for properties that are distressed, look for properties that are vacant. I do a few things. I leave a handwritten note saying, hey, I'm just going through the neighborhood, my brother and I, my family and I. The notes do much better if it comes from a woman. So if you're looks creepy when a guy leaves a handwritten note on your door. So I recommend it coming from a woman. So in my team, we use my brother's wife. The notes come from her, and then she explains we're a family business and we're looking to buy a home with XYZ schools. Now, why do you say that? Because when you say schools, now the people are very intrigued because it looks like you are a family that's trying to buy the home. Now, when you're a realtor like myself, you do have to disclose that you're a realtor, but you can explain that they don't have to pay any realtor commissions. Now, once you've identified a few properties, you're saying you're going to buy it as is, and you're looking to buy a home in that neighborhood, you should then knock on the door, see if they're there. If they're not home, that's great. Leave the handwritten note, and then what you're going to do is start mailing them until they tell you to stop or they tell you I'm ready to sell. But that is, because again, if you see a distressed house, that usually tells you there's a distressed situation. If they can't keep up with the house, there's probably a reason why, and there's probably they have a good need to sell. So that's what I'll talk about: buying right, rehabbing right. Rehabbing right. The strategy I've used, and this is a strategy once you have a contractor that you trust. But once you find a contractor that you have some rapport, a contractor that you trust, something that I do where I'm able to manage over a dozen jobs without being on site, is by making that contractor a partner on that deal. Again, this is not for your first interaction with the contractor. It's not with your second interaction with your it's not your third. This is a contractor that's willing to take a bullet for you and you're willing to take a bullet for them. So it's a special kind of contractor. But once you find somebody like that, I highly recommend partnering with that contractor, and they do things at cost. So there's no markup, and then you share in the profits. So why do I recommend that? Because they're going to do things as cost effectively as possible, and they're willing to put in sweat equity. So if you have the skill of finding properties and they have the skill of managing the contractors doing the work, again, with these three things, you can have a very highly effective partnership. So when I worked with several different contractors that I have this relationship with, they give me all their numbers at the end of the day. Give you an example. I had a gentleman, one of my contractor partners, he was doing a job in Winnetka. It was like a $300 toilet. It was a used toilet, but it was a toilet. It was a $300 toilet nonetheless. So instead of him installing it in his house, instead of him putting it in his garage, what is he doing? Instead of buying a $100 toilet for my house, which is not as nice of a toilet as what he has, he's taking the toilet from Winnetka and hauling it all the way to Chicago, but he's saving money there. And so your interests are aligned, because obviously the cheaper the rehab gets done, the more money you make. And again, this is a contractor that's doing everything above the board. And so that's how you're able to, that I've been able to scale my rehab business without losing my mind managing, and I babysitting contractors, because that's what a lot of times it is. And then renting rights. So I'm going to give you a couple strategies that I use, and I didn't come up with these strategies, so I'm going to give credit where credit is due. A great book you should read is called The Smart Section 8 Landlord. It was written by Al, and I always mess up his last name, Rotary. He's a guy, he's in the Lockport area. But this strategy has worked really well when I used to manage my own properties. So what I would do, a lot of landlords here will do multiple showings for a particular property. So in this book, he talks about doing one showing a week and one showing only. So what he does is he does his showings at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. Now, why is that? Because a responsible person will be there at 7 a.m. Irresponsible people will not be there at 7 a.m. And the really responsible people, I get there, and let me preference this by saying, I don't even want to be there at 7 a.m. Let me say that first. But the very responsible tenant, and probably the tenant that you want to rent to, I get there about 6:50. They've beaten me to the property. I'm pretty much ready to sign the documents because that tells me they are extremely credible, they're extremely responsible. Most people, I would say 99% of people don't have jobs, so they have to be somewhere at Saturday at 7 a.m. So anyone can get there at 7 a.m. if they want to, for the most part. And so that's an extremely effective strategy that I've done when I've managed my own properties, and that's how I get really great tenants. Another strategy I would recommend, and Linda, which is awesome, one of her clients, he came up with this strategy, and I think it is brilliant. This is if you have an office space. His name is Jared Cott, and I had him speak at my meeting just last week. So we meet on the first Tuesday of the month. And what he did when he had an office location to screen his tenants is he has a candy bowl in his office. And he puts in really nice candy. He doesn't put in like cheap little candies like your grandma used to have. He puts in like the Snicker bars, the Butterfingers. He puts in the good full-size candy bars. And so if the kids attack that candy bowl of the potential renter, those kids are going to attack your rental property. But if they ask their parents, and then their parents ask you, because they're going to ask, of course, they're kids. If they ask you nicely, well, then that's how they're going to treat your property. So these are two strategies. If you have an office space, anybody can meet people at 7 a.m. even if you don't want to. But those two strategies, in my experience, have been really tremendous. And you want to make sure, because when you interview your tenants, you're also interviewing the children. So that's a big piece of that. So I'm going to talk about selling it right, because that's extremely important. So by a show of hands, how many people have had a bad experience with a real estate agent? And we have a lot of liars in this room, because everybody's hand should be up, even if you are a realtor, especially if you're a realtor, you've had a bad experience with realtors. So, everybody in this room should have their hands up. So, and I'm going to particularly talk about listings. Obviously, people have bad experiences in a bunch of different ways, but I'm going to talk about, and I'm really going to say a lot of agents don't know what they don't know, but a lot of people rely on the MLS. I talked about the MLS, but that's the best way to blast a property out. But a lot of real estate agents rely on the MLS to do all the work for them. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is other things that you can do to market your home besides the MLS. And actually, one of the main reasons I became a realtor was because I had a property out in the Kankakee area, and I didn't properly vet the real estate agent. I didn't properly do my homework. Come to find out, this is my first property I ever flipped. I didn't know at that time, I was green as green could be. I didn't even know that there were such events at that time as we're in now. And I didn't realize that Kankakee had its own MLS. So when we listed, and now at this point now they've combined, but at that point, my house was not even being shown to the people that would most likely buy it. And I don't even know if my realtor knew that. So that's why it can literally cost you, and I ended up holding that property for a couple of years before I ended up selling it, but I could have sold it for a lot more had I knowing that. So I'm going to talk about a few things that I've learned over the years and becoming a realtor that I think you guys should definitely should utilize. So another reason I became a realtor is because a lot of times I would rely, especially as an investor, I'd rely on a realtor would tell me the house could sell for this. And then when it came time to sell it for that, that number no longer existed. Now, it's true, markets change, but this was in an appreciating market. So they were using comps, and I'm going to go into that, that were not realistic comps. So I'll talk about what realistic comps are and what realistic comps aren't. And then a lot of agents didn't do a marketing plan besides what's on the MLS. So this is really a presentation to give realtors that are here, realtors that are out there. I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of creative marketing strategies that I use that you guys can definitely implement. And also something you can give your realtors, if you're working with realtors, to kind of give them ideas and also give them a system to follow. And really, it's to help you guys sell your homes for the most amount of money. If you're flipping a house, you have a really nice house, you've put hundreds and in many cases thousands of hours into a house. So you're not necessarily expecting a realtor to put thousands of hours into the house, but you definitely expect more than just putting it on the MLS. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. So we're going to talk about how a realtor should market your property, and really, in my opinion, if a realtor is charging a full commission, what you should expect from that, depending on the price point. So number one, it always starts with the sign. So, I do a lot of things in Chicago, so I put up as big of a sign as I can get away with. So this is a 4x4. I put up 4x8s if it's a longer construction. They're actually not as expensive as you think, but this is a custom sign, has the property address there, has the specifications. This is going up during construction. It has the website there, and then it also has a way for somebody to scan the QR code, and it also has a text code. So people can go there, learn what's going to happen to the house. It has preliminary plans. It's going to have renderings of what this beautiful house is going to look like, because you want them to go to your site. You don't want them going to Zillow, to Trulia, to Realtor.com, because as soon as they go there, then 100 other houses pop up and they forgot why they were even there in the first place. So your number one goal should always try to be to get the potential buyer to a property-specific website if possible. And if you go to my website, I don't even have listings on my website. Why is that? Because people aren't going to my website to look at listings. Each of my properties that I list have its own particular website, and it doesn't have my other listings on that website either. It's property specific, and you should be doing this if you're flipping, because that's where you're trying to drive people to. So there's an example of another sign. So where do you guys get signs? I definitely want to give you guys a lot of value. Oakley Sign is, in my opinion, the best place to get signs made. They're very inexpensive. You can get 4x8 signs. All the time, I would say subscribe to their email list. Every month, they have like a 40% or 50% coupon every month. And what's great about it, I hope no one from Oakley Sign is here, because most of the time, once you learn their coupon codes, even if you don't get emailed that coupon code, you can kind of figure it out. It'll either be JUN 50, if it's June, JUN 40, and usually whatever month it is, you're getting 50 or 40% off. So please don't tell Oakley Sign I told you this, but I'm cracking their coupon codes all the time because I love getting these signs made custom for the house. So you can literally get these signs for half the price of what I even have here. So again, if you have a house on 123 Main Street, you should be buying the domain 123main.com. If you want to emphasize that it's a luxury home, then you might do gurneyluxury.com. However you want it to do, but you're trying to drive people to a particular website. And on GoDaddy, you can get them from $10 to $15. I'm a part of what they call the Domain Club, and I get my websites for like $8 now. You can get websites at a variety of places. There's lots of great resources. Wix, that's a free one. Instapage, WordPress, And then agent marketing, and then I'm going to give you guys a great strategy. If you're look at what loan officers are using agent marketing in the area, you can even get this for free. Now they do co-brand the sites, so you may want to pay the full. Now they're not co-branding a lot, but there's like a financing section which then will have their information. But that's a way to even get these sites 100% for free with a nice property templated website that's mobile optimized, because that's really important. So this is an agent this is on a web, this is on a PC, this is not a on a phone, because it looks much different on a phone. It's optimized. But here we've got a photo gallery, virtual tours, property map, what's nearby. I have the payment information there, floor plans. People can print brochures right off of the website. I'm trying to keep them engaged on that site with all the different things that we have. So if you're rehabbing a house, I definitely recommend that the agent become a premier agent on Zillow. The reason for that is they could do coming soons. If they're not premiering, you can do for sale by owner. A lot of times the coming soons, they do have to be listed in the private MLS, so Zillow has changed some rules on that, but you can list it for sale by owner, so then you're not accumulating MLS time, and you can pre-sell your homes before they're ever listed. So the cost to become a premier agent is $200 to $1,000. You can, as a home, if this is your own property, you could do for sale by owner. It's not going to affect your MLS time. But you should be pre-marketing your houses before they're ever done, because once your house is listed and done and that clock starts ticking for accumulating market time, you're going to get less and less and less. So usually, it's of my opinion, you're never going to get as much when it's off market, when you're pre-marketing a house, as once it's listed, unless you have this super hot area and you have multiple offers. But the market, again, is really softening right now, so we're seeing less and less of that. So pre-marketing to me is very key. And then if you get a buyer and let's say you say, hey, you can make some options in the house. At that point, you don't want to give them the option of giving a deposit and then they still have the opportunity to back out. So if a buyer makes any sort of changes to the house of what your original plan was, you need to have some sort of non-refundable deposit. Because otherwise you may do it to their taste, and then that's not a taste that's necessarily going to help you sell the house. So always make that deposit non-refundable if the buyer is making any modifications from your original plan. So what I typically do is a coming soon video, so I like doing it when there's nice clean framing. You can talk about what's going to happen. You can incorporate the renderings that you're getting of the home. You can get renderings on a site called Fiverr.com. Renderings used to cost a ton of money. Now I can go on Fiverr. They're not $5, but I get amazing quality renderings for $20. They look better than when the house is actually done. You can get some really amazing renderings. So you can incorporate those in the videos. As you can see, I have my own video camera there. I believe in video so much. You want to check out where things are going. You know, people now with YouTube channels are becoming, we're almost at a point in our society where if you're a YouTube influencer, that means more than being a TV star. It's very interesting times we live in. Now I go to people's houses all the time, and what do I see? I see kids watching YouTube of people playing video games. Kids have gotten so lazy that they don't play the video games themselves. So that's how powerful YouTube is, and so you should be uploading that to YouTube. You should be uploading it to Facebook. The untapped social media platform, I really think, is LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is really, I'd say, vanilla. And so they've been posting vanilla on LinkedIn for the last 4 years, but it's a huge network, great way to advertise. As soon as LinkedIn has a great advertising platform, I will throw thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars into LinkedIn, because it will be like Facebook. When Facebook first launched Facebook ads, about $1 was about equivalent of what you're spending $10, $20 today. So the same will be true for LinkedIn. So a lot of people here, I'm not a big proponent. When we're selling our houses, most likely our buyer's not coming off of Instagram. That's more for the millennials and that sort of thing. Unless it's a first-time home, then I would recommend Instagram. But really, I think the three big platforms are YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then Instagram as well. But you should be uploading this video to all of those platforms. So I create a Facebook page for the property. So not only do I have a property website, but I also create a Facebook page for that property as well. So if you look here, this says Norwood Park Homes for Sale. So that's what I've named my Facebook page. So when somebody goes into Facebook, and it's kind of like a little Google search bar, it's cut off here, but as soon as they type in Norwood Park space, this page may become recommended to them, especially if they type in the letter H afterwards. So now you're catching people on social media with Facebook as well. So we're creating Facebook pages. Again, that's where our videos are going. Everything is on that Facebook page, so it's not Joshua Ingalls that they're finding the information from. They're getting their information from Norwood Park Homes for Sale with the address. And then you can even get a domain on Facebook, so you can be www.facebook.com/Norwood Park Homes. So I own all great real estate on Facebook. It's kind of like when people were going on the internet and buying like homes.com or dog. Imagine how valuable dog.com right now is. The people that bought the first domains. So what I'm doing on Facebook every time I have a home in a new neighborhood, I'm locking down the closest thing to that neighborhood I can get, because those are valuable domains on Facebook. So you need to look at the comps. This is really where I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about. So one thing I've really dived into, and I have a very, let me go to the next slide to talk about it. I'm very cognizant of schools. It seems like that is, from what I found, schools are the biggest determination of property value more than anything else. So on the MLS, you can do a search right here. This is for Chicago, so if you're in the suburbs, you want to click school districts. But there's this little circle there, you click that, and then you can search for middle school. This was something I did not understand. Just because you're on one side of the street and a home literally, if you're on a street and the house across the street sold for $50,000 more than what you're trying to sell, what you ultimately end up selling your house for, it was probably because you were on the wrong school district. So here, you can see that so on this side of Kedzie, these are different schools. On this side of Montrose, those are different schools. Sometimes it'll be, especially in Chicago, look here, that's on Albany, that's not a busy street, but on one side of Albany is one school district, and on the other side of Albany is another. So when you guys are determining your property values, your ARVs, your after repair values, schools, look at that first. You need to make sure when you look at a comp, if a comp that somebody gives you and it's in a different school district, unless that's the less desirable school district, I don't count that comp whatsoever. That comp is irrelevant. I don't care if that comp sold for $1 million more than what I'm trying to get. It needs to be the same school. And so that applies to obviously elementary, middle, and high school. And you can, again, look at ratings, great schools. You can look at ratings of schools. So that way you're saying, okay, well, this one's in the better school. How much better is it? Can I use this one here that's a little, is not as good? But that's a way to determine which is the better school district, talking to people, because when you go in the wrong school district, I know because I've lost money, that will affect you negatively. So check the maps, it's a great tool on the MLS. So one thing, of course, you want to look at is you may not cross any busy streets, but is it in the same sort of subdivision? Homes that are built in the 70s are nothing like homes that are built in the 2000s. They're completely different construction types. They have smaller closets, less openness. So you need to take these things into consideration. Again, starting out, I didn't know all these things. Are the comps within a half mile? I think that's too far, but that's, I always say, if you cross a busy street, that comp on the other side, even if it's in the same school district, that comp is irrelevant. If you have to cross a busy street to get there, I don't want anything to do with that comp. I only want comps in my neighborhood. Is the square footage, within 5%? You got to be careful because on the MLS, a lot of realtors will lie about the square footage. So you need to verify, is the square footage coming from the tax assessor, or did somebody type that square footage into the MLS? Because agents do it all the time. They want to make their house seem a lot bigger. They might be including the square footage from the basement. There's really nobody policing square footage that I've found on the MLS. I've seen where people are claiming they have 5,000 square feet houses, and you're lucky if they're 3,000 square feet. So you really need to watch square footage closely and then dig into the tax records to find out. We talked about school districts. And then, to me, I really only care about, I do care about actives, but when I'm looking at a resale value, what are the sold comps? If there's a property that's listed and it's active for $1 million, that doesn't mean anything. Anybody can list the property for anything they want. Even if it's contingent, it may be listed at $1 million and it may be contingent, but I've done the same thing where they were listed for almost a year and I make the lowball offer. I don't want to say lowball, it was an accurate offer of what I needed to buy it at. And they took it and it was almost, I've gotten 50% of list price. So even if it's active, even if it's contingent, I'm looking at sold comps, and then I use the actives and contingents as what's my competition and what was that looking like when those houses sold. So that's very important because as everyone knows here, the remodeled inventory, there's a lot more actives than there was 6 months ago because houses are sitting at this point. So another thing you want to look at is, of course, models of home. You can't compare a raised ranch to a traditional 2-story home with a basement. So models are very important. Busy streets, it's if I'm looking to flip something, I don't even want anything to do with it if it's on a busy street. I've seen that affect property values by up to 50% by being on a busy street. Usually go through any town in the area, and more than likely the most rundown houses are on the busy street. It's because they don't have the resale value. You have to think of, if you're a buyer, do you want to live on a busy street? Because you're always going to be worried about your kids running out into the street. Garages, that's huge. Like especially on the North Shore, many times if you have a 1-car garage and there's no way to add another garage, you have a limit to what you can sell your house for. For example, what I've seen like in Libertyville, if you have a 1-car garage, the most you will probably ever get for that home in Libertyville will likely be $400,000. If you try to get above $400,000, you better have a 2-car garage. So that's just an example of how garages are extremely important because that buyer is sacrificing something to move into that home because they do most people want a 2-car garage. Is the house radiant heat? I'm really going deep into this, but this is all things you guys need to consider. Is your house radiant and you're comparing it to houses that are forced air with natural gas heating with a central air conditioning unit? Those are going to sell for the most part a lot more than a house that's on radiator heat with window wall units. These are big things you need to take into consideration. I buy a lot in Chicago's South Side. If a property is frame and a property is brick, there is a huge price differentiation between a brick and a frame, mostly because the brick homes were built a lot better, and so frames usually have a lot more issues. So you can't, if you're buying a frame house, don't think your frame house is going to sell the same as an all brick home. So this is an example. This is actually an example. It's not from Anywhereville, Illinois. This is an example. You guys have probably never even heard of it, but it's a town called Plainfield, quite a ways away from here, about an hour and a half away. So this is in a neighborhood in Plainfield. Houses in this particular neighborhood in Plainfield were selling between $190,000 and $200,000. This is where the houses were selling. So I'm going to do a poll in this room, and everybody needs to participate. So how many people, if houses are selling in the neighborhood between $190,000 to $200,000, how many people think you should list the house at $190,000? All right, good. We got some people that want to sell the house quickly. Awesome. Because then you can get multiple offers, right? Awesome. Love that strategy. How many people think you should list at $195,000? Great, you're middle of the road. You're going to get a lot of people looking. Let me get out of here. What about $199,000? Okay, we've got a good majority here. We got there. How many people think you should list at $200,000 even? Okay, well, we've almost got about this, a little less. Okay, got that. All right. What about $205,000? And we got some greedy people. I like that. All right, how many people think we should list at $210,000? All right, even greedier people. All right. And everybody else, you're just not going to list your house or what? You're all buy and hold investors, I forgot. Okay. Like, I'm never selling. So this is the biggest mistake. I wouldn't say that realtors, I'd say this is the biggest mistake everyone makes in the industry. Because there's a tool on the MLS, it's called reverse prospecting. It's a free tool any realtor in here can do, but you can do this for any house. And let's just dive into the numbers and I'll explain how you can do this. So let's see who was right. So for $190,000, there's 582 buyers working with agents in this particular neighborhood. These are people that have searches in the MLS looking at homes. At $195,000, there's 5. So look, we lose. So $195,000, sorry, man, you lost 30 buyers. Oh man, $199,000, we even lose another, and this was the majority of the room. A lot of people didn't put their hand up, but I knew they wanted to. We lose another 5 buyers. And look at this. $200,000, there's 588 buyers. More buyers than $190,000. How is that even possible? $205,000, look at this. I should have ran an example of $200,001. I'll have to do that in future presentations. But you literally lose, what is that? That's, I don't know the percentage, but 136 buyers. It only takes one. And probably that one buyer was one of those. And then to 210, it's not as drastic. So why is that? Why are there more buyers at $200,000 than anything else? It's an even number, exactly. So most people, when they have searches set up, they're going to set up a search. Let's say I'm approved up to $200,000. We'll use this example. I'm going to have my realtor set me up on a search between, let's say, $175,000, maybe let's start it at $150,000, maybe we're looking for a bargain, and we're going to go to $200,000. Nobody is setting up a search to go at $150,000 to $199,000, $999. It's just too much work. Everyone's lazy. So everybody's putting $150,000 to $200,000. Now think of it on the other side. If somebody's approved up to $250,000, they might be bargain shoppers, and they're looking at $200,000 to $250,000. And by listing it at $199,999, you missed your buyer by one stinking dollar. So this, if you take anything from my presentation, definitely list at even numbers and utilize, it's called reverse prospecting. You do it in the MLS, and you can set up drafts for a house that you're going to list. And you can set up as many drafts as you want. You can set up a draft at 189, you can set up a draft at 190, you can set up a draft at 192, you can set up a draft at 200, you can set up a draft at 500. You set up drafts for how many different scenarios of price points you want. It takes the following day for the data to come in, but the following day you go into the MLS and you have to look at each draft. It's a little bit of work, but you can then find out how many buyers are specifically looking at each price point to see. So now when we list homes, I'm no longer throwing a dart at a board I can't see. When I list a home, I know exactly where are the most amount of buyers, and I'm using the comps to help me price the home, and then I dial it in with reverse prospecting. So this is an example of reverse prospecting. Here we've got 547. Whoops, go back. So there's 5, I'm just showing you as an example. 547, so I'm not making this up. This is reverse prospecting, same address, 588. So literally from that $1, we lost, 41 buyers, which could have been that buyer. So I'm just talking about the MLS. What about Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin? Those are going to be different, right? Nope. Minimum $200,000. You list it at $199,999. Guess what? When somebody goes to Zillow and they type minimum and they click that, sorry 199s, you're not being seen. Go to Trulia. Oh, there's no 199 selection for minimum. Too bad. Redfin, you saved me. Oh, Redfin minimum 200,000. Oops, and Realtor.com would be the same. I don't know why that slide's not there, but it's going to be the same on Realtor.com as well. Now, it is a little bit different on phones, and so you got to look at, so that's another third-party thing to take into consideration. But you want to look at those sites as well. So mins and maxes are extremely important. So you capture the most amount of buyers, get the most eyeballs, get the most exposure. So let's see here. So it's, in my opinion, curb appeal. People talk about how curb appeal is important. Now more than ever, just as important, if not more important, is what I call web appeal. So how attractive does your house look online? And it hurts me to the core. I die inside a little bit every time I see a fully renovated house with shitty photos. You have an amazing house. You can get great photos for like 100, 200. You want great photos? You can get great photos like this for $300. You can get great photos. Don't use your cell phone. You need a photographer, and you need somebody that knows how to do editing. Or they pay someone to do the editing because that's where they make the photos look amazing. So professional photos, you don't have good web appeal, and somebody's going out 1 time, 2 times. Most people are only going out 2, 3 times before they make a decision to buy a house. They didn't even look at your house because your photos look like crap. But your house is amazing if they would have only seen it in person. So your photos need to look better than it actually does in real life. So is staging important? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, great. But what if you don't have the budget? How many people have gone over on a rehab and it's not looking good? I'm the only one? All right, exactly. So sometimes we don't have the budget to stage. So who should pay for the staging? Make the realtor, sort of. So this is what I mean. I'm not telling that the realtor has to have staging. There's a cool thing called virtual staging. So believe it or not, this doesn't look like $1 million. Look at that carpet, it's disgusting. This is $1 million home, believe it or not, in LaGrange. Bam. Okay? I mean, this carpet's in a little bit better shape, but bam. So this is a true story. Watch this one.
Is that the software?
It's software, yeah. So it's called Box Brownie, boxbrownie.com, and you can get a virtually staged image like this for $32. Now the buyer is like, "Where's the bookcase?" I literally, the previous agent of this house was unable to sell it. I literally sold this house in a day. It was $1 million home. And he was asking about the bookcase. I was like, it was virtual staging. Okay. He got over it. He bought the house.
But at least they get that.
Did they get the idea? They came into the house, exactly right. And you have to disclose on the bottom of the photo that it is virtually staged. But we do. Now this is a great one. This looks like a murder scene. Whoops. We're showing the potential. Once you cover that big chalk outline of the dead person on the floor, it looks like a beautiful house. This is a real house. The investor was in Florida, and she's like, "Josh, I need this listed tomorrow." So I didn't even get my great photographer. I got my C photographer to take the photos of this. We got the photos that night. We had to virtually stage it so we can get it listed the next day. But at least we got this before we even got the house cleaned up. But looks phenomenal compared to what, obviously, what this looks like. So something I do, let's see if I can figure this out, is we create a virtual tour. And how many people watch the virtual tours where it's like a photo of a house and there's like this beautiful piano music, and then 10 seconds later there's another photo, and then another 10 seconds, another photo. Okay, so people don't watch that. People are on the internet, they're doing this. They're clicking as fast as they can, unless you have something like this. So this is actual video, this is not photo footage, this is video footage. But look at the quality showing the renovation. This looks like an HGTV show. And you can find people to do this at a very inexpensive price. Kids these days can do amazing. I know a 16-year-old kid that gets millions of views on the videos that he makes. And he will do, people like that, they're very talented people that can make videos like this for very inexpensive. So something I do is I create funny videos. So let me show you.
Then you can't do the virtual staging.
You can't on the videos, correct. No, you can't.
You cannot. Okay.
But it's still something that you're showing. You can talk, so one thing I do with a lot of my investor listings is I'll interview the developer. So they're going to tell me how much nicer their home is, wow, look at the attention to detail. Wow, what is this, granite countertops? No, it's not granite, it's quartz countertops. It's almost staged. Then they're educating me, but I'm doing it like they're educating me. We're educating the consumer on why our house is superior. So a lot of times we do interview style, but they're taking us through the house like it's an HGTV thing, and then I'm interviewing them. So something I do is on certain houses, if the owners, I say cool, I'll do a silly video, and these get very highly shared. So I'll give you an example here.
Come on down here to Bolingbrook and get yourself some free tacos. That's right, conveniently located off of Highway 355 and 55 is this beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom raised ranch. Not like the ranches where I came from, but close enough. The main thing is free tacos. Kapow! Come on down, let's go this side. This kitchen right here features a mosaic backsplash, stainless steel appliances, and granite countertops for all the tacos your heart desires. I can't. This kitchen brings back way too many memories of back home. I'm sorry. Please just cut the tape. I mean, my mama had a table just like this, and my mama would always look at me every day in the eyes and she'd say, son, the best things in life are free tacos. Where I'm from, a free taco means more than just a free taco. Just show the rest of the house. I'll see you at the end. Now I know what you're thinking. I know exactly what you're thinking. This is just too good to be true. Like apple pie on a Sunday morning? Woo-wee, that's good. 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, an immaculate kitchen, and all the tacos your heart desires for $100. That's right, it's too good to be true, and if you don't act now, it's gonna be gone. It's gonna be gone. For more information about this house and other houses just like it, feel free to contact Joshua Ingalls with eXp Realty, and I'll see you at the next virtual tour. Get yourself some, are you recording?
Wait.
Okay.
Okay, we're on.
Get yourself some free tacos.
Hey, it's Josh. I want to say thank you so much for watching this video if you're still tuned in. I do want to apologize though, my camera died about halfway through that presentation. The good news is I gave a very similar presentation in Cancun, Mexico. If you click up here, I'm going to put a link to that video. Feel free to click that, and I've got a very similar presentation to what I gave at the Lake County Property Investor Association. I want to give them, again, a big thanks for having me out there. If you want a copy of the PowerPoint that I gave in that video, feel free to reach out to me. You can either comment with your email, feel free to message me. There's multiple ways to reach out. I'd be more than happy to get you a copy of that presentation. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.